Well, you know, everything changes. There's a lot that changed. This lot right here used to be empty, and it had pine trees. It was full of pine trees. And the ditch was cleared, although it's overgrown. This house was not here. This is looks like a brand new residence. But as far as feelings,
I don't get any feelings because nothing is the same.
yeah.
There's nothing that would bring any kind of memories back because everything has changed.
You can't even compare the two, the way it was and the way it is now. Yeah. The night of the bombing.
The night of the bombing, me being the night owl, I was up, it was close to 2:00 before I went to bed. And because I had made a cake. I can't remember what the cake was for, but I had made a cake. And after I finished the cake, put it somewhere. And I went to bed. And it was after 2. I'm definitely after 2:00.
I rose out of the bed about 4 foot and I bounced. And we didn't know what had happened. And as my grandmother was calling to my aunt and everybody was kind of checking to see if everybody was all right, you know, we got up, walked into the room. The front room was probably a little bit bigger than this, right? A little bit bigger than this. But this whole area was sunken. You could barely walk around the edges to get to the front door. It was all, and it was like that from the living room to the dining room, to the kitchen sink.
I don't think
the kitchen.
But you couldn't walk in. You couldn't go into the kitchen.
Yeah, you couldn't get from the front porch to the kitchen.
Our bedroom was in the back. There was a bedroom, our bedroom, bathroom, my aunt and uncle's bedroom, and my mother and my aunt's front bedroom. They sit in the front.
I call it ironic. They sit it on the right side of the house. If you're facing the front door, they sit it on the right side of the house, which was actually the wrong side. You see, but it was the right side because it saved us. Yeah, it was the wrong side.
Before the bombing, it was Valentine's Day. And they had given him Valentine cards out of his class.
Oh yeah, we put out Valentine cards constantly. First grade, you know, and that's my first time ever getting a Valentine's.
And the next thing we knew, they were blowing up the house.
I remember how big that was.
It was a big deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, you didn't want to get left out.
Yeah.
And still kind of think about the fact that Those kinds of things were happening everywhere. And it was a special thing to us because it happened to us, but it wasn't a special thing. It was happening everywhere.
It wasn't a special thing. Man, that's something.
You just don't know what to do and how to get things done because this is a very, very different kind of situation that you had to deal with. You dealt with the racism, but you never dealt with the fact that you have no place to live.
Discombobulated. I think that's a good word. I mean, you're just out of sorts.
My mother, my aunt, and my uncle, and the two of us.
Yeah. We were scattered.
Yeah.
My grandmother and myself lived with a church member in Moncrief, and I think that was like our second stop.
I don't remember what I did work-wise at that time, and I don't remember going to work, but I'm sure I did. My life was work, home. My mother was a maid. My mother was fortunate enough to work for a family that owned a phosphate mine down in Florida. And they were old money. We were fortunate, I feel, we were fortunate to work for old money the entire that I was working as a maid. She brought me to work to take care of Jack's children when they were younger.
And how old were you?
9.
You were 9?
9. I made my 9th birthday on a job, yes. I was paid $3 a week.
That's pretty good money for a 9-year-old. Black people have spirit, and that's what has kept us going. Our spirit, I want to say we.
I think it's a part of being determined that you're not going to stop me.
Right.
You're not going to stop me.
And the spirit moves us. We feel it. We would not be here today if it wasn't for the spirit that saved us on that day. Correct?
After the bombing, did anybody from the school reach out to you?
Nah.
These were Klan people. They weren't going to reach out to me.
Who's going to reach out to her?
They
Everybody there was white.
They didn't want you here. What are you going to reach out to me for?
Yeah, you ain't supposed to be here anyway.
Nobody from the city, nobody.
City never said a word.
It's the
It was
norm.
normal. And you didn't expect for them to. Walter Cronkite did a snippet of the bombing, and at the time they had not caught the bomber. They just mentioned it in the news, and that was it. I wrote a letter, and I got a canned response from the CBS. I was upset by the fact that they didn't talk about it. They just gave a snippet of it. There was no discussion, no reason, no rhyme, no nothing. Just a snippet of the fact that they had bombed another house.
This is Walter Cronkite. Good night.
I think that's pretty bold of you, a 24-year-old, giving Walter Cronkite a hard time, and I respect that so much.
It was just annoying. I mean, and they still do it. They highlight what they want to highlight and ignore what they want to ignore. And that was ignoring what had happened. And no concern about the family or anything, the neighborhood, no concern about any of that. Just a snippet that another house was bombed.
My first grade teacher, she was good.
Brannon.
Miss Brannon. She was under a lot of pressure for accepting me into her class, you know. But I took a lot of courage.
I learned later, and I don't remember exactly when, that there was a plan to enter children in school. And I was not a part of that plan. I knew nothing about it. All I knew is there's a school close to where we live. The government says we can go, so we went.
I went.
He went.
But we would walk up and then we would go through the tunnel. Either God will or they just didn't want to bother us. They could have cut us off in the middle of the tunnel and we'd have been done for. And as we exited the tunnel, there would be older girls, teenage girls, and mothers, you know, calling us all kinds of names and stuff. And, you know, we didn't pay any attention to them. My grandfather was upset.
Very.
My granddaddy was a fisherman, a hunter, half native Cherokee.
I get a little touched when I talk about it. Can I take a break? Let's see if I can gather myself to get through it, okay? Because it is a good story. But he was upset. I remember we would go out and he would tell my grandmother, we're going galling, right? We're going galling, meaning that we're going to chase some women. We never went to chase anybody, you know? But anyway, this time we took the old car, his work car, but we drove to Callahan, and he met Mr. Brown. And it was dark, man. We went down this dirt road, and it was dark. And we got out. It was so dark when the guy opened the door, it like blinded you. And they knew each other and stuff. And he started talking to him. He says, "Is this the boy?" He said, "Yeah, this is him." So he told me to have a seat. And they started talking and shaking hands and they were drinking and stuff. And he asked him if he knew, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said, "Yeah, I know him." And he basically cursed. He said, "Yeah, I know the asshole." And he said, "Yeah." And he says, "He's the one that's involved with this." And that's basically all I remember about the conversation. And what brought all of that on was when I read about the guy's house being razed. I'm like, huh. You know, they were talking. I never heard we're gonna raise the house, but I know that they knew him. My granddaddy was upset, and as far as I could tell, they were in the military together. So yeah, and I asked my granddad if they were gonna take care of him. He didn't answer the question. So, not whether it was a coincidence, but I know my grandfather knew this other person that knew the guy. If you were brought up in a box, this is your box, then you're not even thinking outside of that. And this is what I want to say my mother exposed me to, is living outside of that. This is your place and your place only. Your place is not at the table with us.
You can't even get a chair.
So we would go to different places that we were not allowed, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I remember his father, his grandmother had a fit that I took him to a movie downtown. All white movie was downtown next to Kay's Jewelers.
Yeah.
And she had a fit. Are you doing that? Because I think he should go.
Thinking outside the box. I would go up here to the Edgewood Theater, and man, my cousins and nobody would go up there with no one would go up there with me, because they said that's the heart of the Klan. But I would go up there and watch the movies, and watch James Bond movies and whatever else. Mary Poppins, I saw all of that stuff.
Well, we saw
through.
Mary Poppins downtown.
Well, they had it up there three times.
Okay.
You know?
I worked at Head Start for 7 years. Started off as a teacher, wound up being what was called the lead teacher. The lead teacher was in charge of the center. I was in charge of 1, 2, probably 3 different Head Start centers before I was called to go and come to work for the college. I graduated in 1972 from EWC, Edward Waters College. And once I left Head Start, I worked at the community college for 25 years.
I am happy to be able to go somewhere where I can feel at peace. I don't feel at peace here. There's just too much stuff going on with the politics, the shooting in the streets, the infestation of the Proud Boys and those groups. You know, everybody talks about the Klan, but the Klan is dead, I think. But these offshoots and our former president and his shenanigans, what benefit is it for me not to go to Ghana? I can at least have some peace. At least I can ride down the street and not worry about being stopped by the cops. I tell people this all the time. I don't have to worry about a violent death. A violent death is not in the back of my head. When I take my grandchildren to the cinema and watch a movie, I don't have to be looking for the exits or waiting for someone coming there acting like a nut and shooting the place up. When I'm here, I'm always listening for commotion to know if something is beginning to start. And it don't have to be a mass shooter. It can be somebody who just had a bad day and they come in and start shooting people, you know?
Or they're in the movies or wherever, and there's somebody that they didn't like or somebody that had done something to them.
Yeah, it's just too much.